Hi, it's Steve from Steve M Outdoors here today, and today I'm going to do a product review which should answer the question, is an action camera that only costs $50 actually worth buying? So, action cameras have been a big seller in recent years as people have opted to chronicle their outdoors adventures. There's only one problem: the cost. The dominant player in the market, GoPro, has a product line that stretches from about $250 all the way up to $600-700. For a lot of people, that's a significant amount of money, a resource better spent directly on the hobbies that they have. There are, however, alternatives, including some really off-brand models from China that take a liberal view of the concept of copyright and product design. So recently, I actually ordered one of these cameras, this one right here, called the Campark ACT68 action camera. And as I mentioned earlier, this thing cost me a grand total of $56. Canadian, that is. So for you Americans, it'd be even cheaper. Shipped to my door. Shipping was free. So what do you get for that money? Surprisingly, a lot. So looking at the package itself, it actually looks fairly professional. Inside you see the usual G-jaws that come with a lot of these cameras. You get mounts for bicycle helmets, bicycles themselves, all sorts of things. Power cable and / transfer cable. It does come with 2 batteries. One's in the camera at the moment, but that's pretty good. You get 2 batteries. And you also get a manual, which is surprisingly good, considering some of the Chinglish that comes with most Chinese products. One note of warning though, if you're like me, the writing is pretty darn small, so if you need reading glasses, well, you'll be wearing them, that's for sure. And finally, we also obviously have the camera that comes in a waterproof case, and of course it is removable from that case. Looking at the camera itself, if you spend any time on eBay, which is where of course I bought this, you will find a ton of cameras that look exactly like this. When I say exactly, I'm not engaging in hyperbole, I mean exactly. Outside of the branding, I've seen several cameras that are cosmetically identical. So instead of Campark, you'll see a different brand name. Sometimes you'll see something else here. But this is identical to 1,000 other cameras, all the way down to the, I guess, full carbon fiber case. But really, exactly the same. Now, the control mechanism for this camera is much as the same as GoPro's. You have your power button on the front, which also cycles through the various modes. You have a menu item select engage button at the top, and on the side here, I don't know if you can see it, you've got up and down arrows that allow you to cycle through the menu options. On the other side of the camera, you have your standard mini HDMI port. You've got the power in and also the port to transfer videos, and you have a slot right here for micro SD cards. Incidentally, the ad on eBay says the camera can only take 32 gigabyte micro SD cards, but I've got a 64 gigabyte SD card in there and it works just fine. And on the back, you have a 2-inch color LCD screen. So with the power button, which of course is on the front, you can cycle through the camera's various functions. So the first thing was regular 1080p video recording. You've got your 12 megapixel camera. You've got super slow-mo here. You can view your library of videos that you've taken so far that are on the card. And you've got your setup screen. All well and good, I hear you say, but the reason to buy this camera is to record video footage. How does it actually do? Generally fine. Given that it has a 170-degree field of view, you'll certainly capture a lot of screen area. It does have that fisheye effect at the edges of the screen though, so keep that in mind. And the image quality at 1080p is fairly good. I didn't have a chance to test the 2.7K resolution that the camera and the manual say that it's capable of, frankly, because I don't have anything here that can display at 2.7K, so I wouldn't even notice the difference. At 1080p, which I think most people would be using the camera at, I did occasionally notice some artifacting on video footage, primarily when it came to harsh reflective sunlight. I noticed several times when recording what poets refer to as sun-dappled water, that there was some distortion at the brightest spots when there was movement of water. And hopefully you'll see that in the footage that's up right now. Other than that, though, the footage was fairly acceptable. Colors seemed to be accurately captured, and outside of low light conditions, the picture was reasonably bright. And if you want, the camera is also capable of 720p resolution. Now, I don't know if you can really see any of this in the footage, thanks to YouTube's video compression algorithms, but hopefully it's coming across. So, pros and cons. Pros, price. At $50, and it actually cost me $56 to be perfectly honest, and I'm fairly certain you can find it even cheaper. It's a virtually unbeatable price. Even if it's only half the camera that, let's say, a GoPro is, it's still a heck of a deal. And I don't think you could really find it that much cheaper for a camera that has this many features. Ecosystem, it uses the standard GoPro mounts, so if you're looking for a specific application to attach the camera to, it should be pretty easy to find. 2 batteries. Every action camera eats through batteries, so getting 2 in the package is a pretty solid deal. Each battery lasts about an hour and a half to 2 hours, although I would bet on an hour and a half, and it takes about 2 hours to charge each battery. Unfortunately, and this is the one nitpick I have with the battery situation with this camera, there isn't a separate charger. So if you do want to charge the battery, you have to have it in the camera and plugged into an outlet. So not great, but it is what it is. Video quality. I know I was a little unconvinced by the video quality, but the camera does seem to capture footage at 1080p. And I'm going to assume 2.7K is real, and 720p certainly worked out well as well. It does appear, though, that the image capture sensor in the camera isn't the best in the world. But you know what? $50 only buys you so much, so know that going in. And finally, controllable via app. If you're an Android or an Apple phone user, there is an application available for download that allows you to control it via Wi-Fi, so that's pretty good too. Cons. Video resolution. The maximum resolution of this camera is 2.7K, also 1080p and 720p obviously, but if you're one of those people who's moving to 4K, this camera isn't for you, obviously. There are 4K budget cameras available, but they do obviously cost more than $50. Build quality. Might be a little unfair for me to put this under a con because I have no proof contra, but I've never been quite convinced that this camera has the same build quality that a GoPro does. The latest GoPros, they seem to be very rugged. People use them for some pretty extreme applications, and they're also waterproof without a case now, something that this one isn't. The copy for eBay also says explicitly not to drop this camera or to give it any strong impacts. That's the kind of thing that doesn't exactly build confidence in a camera, particularly if you're going to be using it for extreme sports. So, to wrap this up, I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm generally dubious when it comes to mysterious, off-brand, no-name Chinese electronics. I have to say, though, that I've been very pleasantly surprised by the Campark ACT68 action camera. The image quality isn't astounding, but unless you want to pay 4 to 12 times as much for a name brand camera, like the aforementioned GoPro, I think you'll be pleased with it. It comes with a wide variety of mounts that usually are sold as a set separately. But you don't get the ever popular chest mount if that's something that you want, so you have to get that on your own. And it comes with 2 decent batteries. All that for just $50. And remember, that's Canadian dollars, and my American friends will be paying less for it. $42, I think, with conversion. So to answer, if you're on a budget or you just want to fool around with a action camera but don't want to invest the heavy money to get a name brand, then a FauxPro, as I've taken to calling this camera, might be the answer to your question. I don't know about the longevity of this unit, particularly if you're going to hammer it out in the field. But for people in more sedentary sports like fishing or kayaking, it may be hard to beat this camera. I wasn't expecting to say this, but this action camera actually rates a buy. So if you are interested, I did put a link in the description to the auction that I bought this camera from. And no, I have no connection to the sellers, so don't worry about that. That's it. So, at any rate, if you did enjoy this video, I hope that it was at least somewhat informative. And if those 2 criteria are met, please feel free to like the video, share it, leave a comment. You can also subscribe to the YouTube channel that I have, and there are links to both my Twitter and Facebook pages below. Have a great day and enjoy the great outdoors.